Third Advent Sunday start. Well, hello there, or moin, as we say here in Hamburg. Welcome to Stitchilonka. My name is Ilonka. Yes, it's spelled with an I, but pronounced with an E. Well, many of you might be new here and found me through the hashtag Wip Parade 2021. So I thought I say a few words about me first. I started stitching on July the 23rd this year in 2021. And I liked it so much, but I didn't have anyone to talk to that about. And so I went online and I found Flosstube, and as many stitchers, I of course immediately fell in love with Stitchman Darcy. And he was also the reason why I uploaded my first Flosstube video in English on September the 8th. And I thought to myself, well, if there are like 2 or 3 people that will watch my video and that I can talk to about stitching and get to know a few people and might interact with a few people on Instagram, it will totally be worth it. And maybe a shout out by Darcy would be nice, but if not, that's okay too. So that was my goal or my idea when I started doing Flosstube. And but little did I know that today, December 30th on 2021, like 4 months later, I would have 230 subscribers. Most of them are German because I started doing German Flosstube videos as well, because there are only a few German-speaking stitching channels here on Flosstube. And and also I didn't know that I would meet so many wonderful people who brought a lot of love and support my way, and I am so very grateful to that. Well, I don't want to shout them out individually because this is not going to be an Oscar speech, although it might seem like one. But I also didn't know that my best Christmas presents would be a package from Denmark, from a woman that I haven't met yet, but who I immediately clicked with when we met on a Zoom call, who I was invited to only a few weeks after I started, and that was really a wonderful experience for me. And I also didn't know that my name would be sung out on the internet by Ashley, who is Yass Stitch here on Flosstube. I'm going to link his video below. You have to watch him. He's really hilarious and wonderful guy. Yeah, these were my best Christmas presents. And well, ever since, I don't know who it was, if it was Amber or Megan, ever since my name was said out loud, or my channel name Stitchilonka was said out loud on the internet, I really couldn't stop grinning, and I felt so much joy and motivation. And also maybe a few German people commented and said, well, can you please do German videos? Can you please do more German videos? We want to see you, we want to listen to you, we want to see your projects. Yeah, and it's just all to you that I feel so grateful and happy again after what I've been through over the last 2 years, and it's really fills my heart and makes me happy. And I will probably do a giveaway, because that's what you do when you reach a certain milestone. I am already at 230 people, so maybe I'll wait after like all the whip parades are through and we've all settled down in January, and see where we are then, and maybe I'm going to do a giveaway then. Oh, and another thing that also I didn't think would happen is that the German community is really so kind of, well, we are not as connected as the American society might be, the American community might be, because there are stitching retreats in the UK and in the US, and we don't have that here. And I am trying to organize such a retreat here in Germany next year when it's safe for us all to travel again, because right now in December there are only allowed gatherings of only 10 people or so, and I think we have like 12 people who are interested. So yeah, but I hope that in late spring or summer we can make this retreat happen, and I'm very much looking forward to that. But yeah, for now I have to say thank you. I hope you are still here and haven't clicked away after 5 minutes. And here to see my whips and finishes that I've already made this year. I wrote it down. There are 14 finishes and like 10.5 whips that I have. And I still have a few more kits here that I want to start next year. And yeah, so let's dive in. I'm going to show you the finishes first, and then we go over to this rather interesting pile over there that looks very wonky, and I hope it doesn't crash down. So if you hear something, either there are people outside already like burning off fireworks, or it's the whip pile that is toppled over. Okay, now the first few finishes that I have to show you are these little, it's already toppling, these little tiny stitches, these kits that I got from a German store called Cross-Stitch Corner here in Germany. These are all patterns, or rather kits, by Alisa Collections, a either Russian or Lithuanian company. And this was my very first one. And I remember that I saw a video, like a how-to video, a beginner's guide, whatever, and they said, well, start with 14 count and only start with a simple pattern with full crosses and all of that. And, you know, just opt for a simple pattern with no backstitching and, you know, just to get into it. And I was like, well, nobody told me that. I mean, this has got half stitches, this has got back stitching, and yeah, that was my very first piece, and I was so intrigued by that, and I was like, this is really cool, you know, like when it's hanging on the wall, it really looks like you know, like the boat is mirrored in the sea, and the doves are flying around, not doves, the seagulls are flying around. And I love lighthouses. And these were really quick stitches, and I was so happy. I had to have the whole collection. And I really love them so much. And they're hanging in our living room. And every time I tell someone, well, I'm cross-stitching now, and yeah, that's my new hobby, they were like, oh, well, okay, Granny. And when I show them these really cool, I also, one of my favorite ones is this one, where you see like the shadows here in the sails and stuff. And when they see this, they are like, oh, this is cross stitch too? That's cool. That's nice. And yeah, these were the first things that I did, and I'm so loving them. And we're only like €7 or something, the whole kit, for the whole kit. And I couldn't put it down, and I'm really loving this. So yeah, these are from Alisa collection. And yeah, we're at the finishes first. And then I also saw, well, there's not just lighthouses that you can stitch, but also the nerdy stuff. And I created an Etsy account, and I saw all of these wonderful, beautiful things that you can stitch on Etsy, and I had to have it all. Well, not everything, but a lot. And I was thinking about, or me and my boyfriend, we were thinking about making a huge nerd wall with obscure references to movies and TV shows that we like. And the first thing that I started was this one. This is part of a huge sampler of all the Marvel characters. And when I started doing this, he was like, well, can we have like these, not tablecloths, like, but napkins, like the cloth napkins that you have on at a fancy dinner. And we have a stack of them, white ones. And he was like, can we just like stitch all of, like every single character of the Marvel universe on these napkins, so that when we have people over for dinner, they can choose which character they want to be for dinner. And this might also be a project for next year with waste canvas. And yeah, this was also one that I started trying out, like 2 strands and 3 strands, and working with a laying tool. And so far I really like this one. It's also one of the first ones, so I'm really kind of fond of it. Let me just, I have my handy dandy notebook here, so I can tell you this is the Avengers Counted Cross Stitch sampler from a British designer. She's called KnotALot, so KNOTALot, on Etsy. And this is stitched on 14 count, easy count, ATAT with a call for DMC. And this was also the first huge DMC order that I placed for all of this, the different characters. That was quite a journey. The next thing that I started is my little Grogu here. And he is by StichStichHouse on Etsy. Also 14 count ATAT, because that was what I bought at first. This was also a project that I took out to the hairdresser with me and sat there while the color was, you know, soaking into my hair, and I was just sit there and stitch, and I was really like, maybe someone will ask me what I'm doing here, and maybe I can talk to someone about stitching, or someone would say, oh, this is cool, what are you doing there? But nobody asked. Nobody. Maybe they looked at me funny, but I didn't see it because I was just concentrating on where to put the stitches. Well, anyway, this is my little Grogu. StichStichHouse on Etsy. And then I also had to stitch my little Deadpool here. This is by the designer Aliton Embroidery, also on Etsy. Found this also on Etsy. That was the first one that I stitched on a different color fabric, on red. And I did grid it at first with those friction pens. And the other day I was talking to someone on Facebook, because they were like, oh my god, never put friction pens on fabric, because it may wash out or it may disappear when you iron it, but when it gets cold, the lines, the grid will come back. And so I had Grogu and Deadpool both sitting in the fridge overnight, because I wanted to see if the grid would come back. So I ironed them both, and I washed them thoroughly, and then, you know, I put them in the fridge to see if the lines would reappear, but they don't. And maybe it's a thing of how long the friction pen stays on the fabric. That might also be a reason, because this was only like for, I don't know, 5-6 days, and the other one was for 2 weeks or so. So maybe that's also a factor, but I'm still very happy with this one. Oh, and the frame is 50 years old. I found these frames in the attic of my parents' house, and they had various, I don't know, nonsensical pictures in them, very old ones, and I thought they would just look perfect with it. That's my little Deadpool. Yes, and also one of the very first projects that I started, and I only recently finished, that was actually the longest one, is God of Mischief. That's what it's called. God of Mischief is the, yeah, and the designer is XCrossStitchPatternX on Etsy, and I loved this so much because this is really something that only people would understand who watched the Loki series on Disney Plus, and also who know who oh my god, what's his name, the actor who plays Mobius, Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson always says wow in every movie that he's in. And we were waiting for him to say this in this series, but he didn't. Well, anyway, so yeah, this was also one of the first. What's this white thing? Oh, nothing. So this is also one of the first ones that I've ever done, and I used 310 black floss for the black here. And I wasn't too pleased and too happy with the coverage, but someone told me that if you wash it afterwards, that the fibers and the floss would pop up a bit, or it would like expand a bit when you wash it. And they were kind of right. It's still not the best coverage. You still can see a bit of the white fabric underneath, but it looks much, much better than it did when it was first finished. And I'm quite happy with it. Also a huge learning curve in this one. God of Mischief XCrossStitchPatternX on Etsy. Okay, and another one that I finished for Christmas, you might have seen it if you follow me on Instagram, is this one, Goonies. Let me see who it's by. Goonies, 1985, and the designer is fiddlesticksau on Etsy. And I used the thread gatherer black ink silk thread for the black. This is 16 count ATA, sorry, everything else was on 14 count. This is the first one that I did on 16 count ATA, light gray by Zweigart, Ecru DMC. This is also from Dinky Dyes, a silk thread, and of course black ink by the thread gatherer, and I love it so much. It's also in one of these very, very old, 50-year-old battered frames. You see there's like paint chipped off and stuff. I couldn't go to any place to buy new frames because it was I finished it so close to Christmas, and I just wanted to have it framed, and so I just popped it in there, and my boyfriend was just loving it because this was one of his favorite movies when he was growing up, and this is always a comfort movie. When I see him putting this one on, I know something is bothering him, or he just wants to, you know, have something very cozy and yeah, I don't know, something that feels very good to him. Then he puts this movie on, and I really love it. It's also quite obscure. Well, it says Goonies, but the saying Goonies never say die, this is something that you will only know if you've seen the movie. This was a Christmas present, and another Christmas present that I finished that you might have also seen if you follow me on Instagram is this one. I just printed out the picture. I selected 3 of the Van Gogh pictures or paintings out of the masterpiece stitch patterns that you can find on Etsy. This is a huge book containing 50 famous paintings in form of a cross stitch pattern, and they are all only, this is was 14 count ATA, and they were only this big, so really not that huge. And this was a gift for my mother-in-law for Christmas. And I'm actually thinking about like stitching all of these tiny little masterpieces on a huge piece of fabric one day, so that I have a huge art collection sampler, if you will. Yeah, that was the little mini masterpieces. Also, I finished 2 more presents. This one was also one of the first stitchings that I did on 14 count Ada, and this was by AbbieSueDesigns on Etsy. She has a few more of the Disney characters in this kind of, or in this particular style, you know, like when the color spreading out, and no faces, of course, but still, I loved it so much. And I have a friend who's got a huge Arielle tattoo on her back, and I gave it to her for her birthday this December, and she sent me a voicemail just crying. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna give you anything anymore if you cry over it. But yeah, she loved it, and she also already sent me a picture where she hung it in her home. And yeah, that was also one of the first ones that I did, and I was very, very happy about this. Also, again, with backstitching, because no one told me that if you're new to stitching, then you shouldn't do anything with backstitching. I didn't know that, you know. And also one that I finished that I've talked about in length in my old Flosstube videos are these 2 cities. This is Hamburg with the Elfi and the huge church here, the Michel Planetarium. And the other one was Düsseldorf, because good friends of ours who originate from Düsseldorf, they spent a few years here in Hamburg, and we got friends, or we became fast friends, and they had to move back to Düsseldorf this November, and so I stitched these 2 for them. Unfortunately, I haven't heard from them. Well, we kind of reached out to them a few times if they, you know, are well and fine, and Merry Christmas and all that stuff. We haven't heard from them back yet. I would just think that they are kind of busy settling in their new home, and she is pregnant, and well, I just think that they might have to have more time, and then they will probably call us again. We'll see about that. Oh yeah, and also one finish that I was really proud of was December Dancing by Lindy Stitches, with 2 red-footed boobies with their little Christmas hats dancing their little mating dance. And this, I finished this into a cup holder. This is the design. And I was so proud of myself because I didn't know what to do with it once it was finished. And so I made this cup holder out of it, and I staged a beautiful photo for Instagram. And Lindy was, no, not Lindy, Steph is her name, Stephanie is her name. And she also posted it on her Instagram, and I was very, very proud. That was the first time when I thought, now I'm gonna be famous. Well, it didn't happen that way, but still, I was very happy. And I really love this one. This is actually one of the only, not one of the, but the only Christmas finish that I got done this year. Also a very quick stitch. 16 count gray Ada by Zweigart, the original one. And only yesterday evening I finished the captains by Happy Sloth Patterns. Yes, Happy Sloth Patterns on Etsy. You can find it on Etsy. And I really, really love this one. Of course, you cannot see it in this light, but the fabric is sparkly. You see that? It's white opalescent Ada from Zweigart. I haven't washed it yet. I just ironed it. I might have. I'm also a bit mad at myself because when I cut the fabric, I made it very short. You know, like I would have liked to have more space up here and down there, so it would be easier to frame. Because for this these dimensions, I would have to have a custom frame for this. But still, I mean, I love it, and I'm quite proud that I have another finish, because this was a start that I did on the 28th of November, which was the first Advent this year, and I started a new pattern or a new design every Advent Sunday together with Esther, the Danish stitcher, here on Flosstube. So we both pushed each other to have a new start every Advent Sunday, and that was quite nice. I did quite good with the second one, but the third and the fourth, you will see, well, that could have been better. But still, I really love this one too. Again, Captains by HappySueDesigns. So these were the finishes. Did I miss one? No, but see, I mean, I've only been stitching for July, August, September, October, November, December, like for 5 months, and I already have 14 finishes. You see, hyperfixation. I kind of love the pandemic because I had so much time with my new hobby. Anyway, okay, now on to the whips that I'm still working on. One thing that I love about my new hobby is that I started sewing in January when my mom died last October, and we were kind of looking through all the things that I found her old sewing machine, and I took the sewing machine with me to Hamburg, but and unfortunately it wasn't working that well, but I was like, I want to make some clothes for myself, and so we bought a new sewing machine and I sewed a bit, sewed new clothes and stuff and everything. That was really fun, but it was an activity that kept me away from my boyfriend, you know, sitting like being in the office all of the time, or sitting down here and sewing, and my boyfriend was sitting upstairs on the couch, and so we wouldn't spend time together in the evenings watching movies or whatever, and I was kind of bummed out by that, and I soon lost kind of interest in sewing, so I looked for something else, so I started stitching, and now that I have watched so many floss tubes and saw these beautiful project bags that everyone does, I was like, okay, I can do that. I have a sewing machine. How does it work? And what's her name again? Sorry, Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch. She has a wonderful tutorial for making these vinyl front project bags, and I just added like a handle to the bags so that I can carry them around more easily. And so my sewing machine got a bit of love again also, and that made me happy. That made me very happy too. So the first whip that I want to show you is also by Alisa Collections, and it's called Lighthouse. This is what it's gonna look like, and this is also gonna be a very interesting one. This is one that I had only paper, like the paper design for paper. What's the name that I'm looking for? You know, I just had the paper, and I didn't know about Pattern Keeper yet, and about how you can do you know, like the digital patterns on PDF reader on your iPad or whatever. And so I worked on that, and I made photocopies, and I marked off what I already stitched and stuff. And then it became darker and darker because it was like autumn and winter, and so I couldn't really see that well on this piece of paper, and so I just put it away, and I haven't really worked on it, although it's almost like it's 3/4 of the way done. And it's going to be very interesting to see how the friction pen will. This is not the small pens, these are the felt tip pens, friction pens that I put on here. And it's not stark white Aida, it's kind of a creamy Aida. So I'm very curious to see how it will behave once I wash and iron the grid off, because this has been sitting on there ever since, yeah, I think ever since July. And I really have to get back to that. And I want to get back to that because it looks so stunning even without the backstitching. Yeah, and I'm very much looking forward to summer when it's not that dark anymore, because I don't want to, you know, switch on every light that we have in the living room. I just have a small light around my neck, like a reading light, and so that I can see, but it's really not that easy to you know, to work with a pattern, like on pattern. That's the word that I was looking for, to have the pattern on a piece of paper. I didn't really like that, so it's really sad that I haven't been working on this, because it looks really stunning. And I have 2 more kits by Alisa collections, which I'm going to show you later. And I'm very much looking forward to that once it's finished. And of course I have a beautiful project bag going with it. Alrighty, next one. Which was the next one? Oh yeah, when I started stitching, I got my stitching kit online from a website that I don't want to promote here. I don't want to mention. I don't want to promote here because they are just way too expensive. And anyway, they had the option that you could send a picture in, and that they would kit up the picture, and that they would, you know, print it on a piece of fabric. And I had no idea about dimensions or anything. So I had this wonderful picture of a wonderful rose in my mother's garden, printed on this huge piece of fabric. And it's got a huge pile of floss, and the only thing that I started was just the sky up here. I have to get back to that, or I want to get back to that, because one day I really want to have this finished, because it might look quite nice, but I haven't worked on that at all since, I don't know, August? Ever since I started downloading those Etsy patterns and stitching them on like the small things, ever since I started with them, I haven't worked on this anymore. But it's really, I mean, I was thinking about doing Whip Go this next year, and maybe it could help me get back to this one and to actually, you know, make a bit of a progress on this one. We will see. I keep you informed if you like. All right. So this is the very oldest ones that I have. Yeah, and then we're already at, oh, okay. This one was a whip, but I kind of abandoned it. This one, I love this this image so much, and this one was by Create Your Style 2020 on Etsy. Unfortunately, the shop is still available, and he has, or that person has, also has, or still has a Golden Girls pattern, but the girls look different on that. I don't know if he had kind of lost the license to sell this particular one. Sorry. I'm always itching my nose, and it's only because of the floss that's flying around here. I'm very sorry. I wanted to address this earlier, but I'm not doing anything, you know, I'm not... Anyway, so sorry for itching my nose. So, yeah, this one was, I started it on a 14 count easy count, and I wasn't happy with the coverage of the 310 at all. So I kind of, you know, I didn't really work on that, and a friend of mine was like, I want to start stitching too, and I packed him a package, and I was like, okay, start out on 14 count, and you can have this piece of fabric, and you can see how I did it. And so he got the start that I made on that piece of fabric, the start that I made on Blanche, and I gave him this piece of fabric to work on. And now that I learned that it will be Betty White's 100th birthday in January, I definitely have to start this one again. So it's a bit of cheating. That's the half whip that I was talking about when I said I had 10.5 whips, because I already started it, but then I kind of abandoned it, but I definitely will restart it because I still have all the floss in my designated pouch here. I definitely will restart it on Betty White's birthday. So as I said, this particular design is no longer available in this shop, but if you want to have a look at the other one, it's Create Your Style 2020 on Etsy. Have a look. Okay, another birthday start, my birthday start this year on October the 3rd was this beautiful design by PRINTandDECOR on Etsy. This is what it's gonna look like. Sorry, again. And this was, I started this on my birthday because I told you that my mom had passed away last year in October, right around my birthday, and she had cancer here. And so I was like, well, I have to have, or I want to have something to stitch in memory of her. And so I worked on it a bit, a few days at a time. And then sometimes then I would just put it away and wouldn't think about it. And then I had to whip it out again because, because of Christmas, I wanted to think of her. And yeah, so this is kind of an emotional piece for me. I think it looks so cool. It looks like bull horns or a serpent or whatever. It looks so, I don't know, I really, really like this design. And once it's finished, it's going to be really cool to hang on my wall. And I have an accompanying piece for that. I want to stitch this one too. It's also by PRINTandDECOR. And these two have the similar or kind of the same color scheme. And this was like, well, when this was part of our lives for almost a year or a bit over a year, when my mom was sick, I completely forgot about this for myself, and I got kind of sick too. And so these two things are kind of a therapy piece, or are therapy pieces for me that I want to stitch on. I want to focus on a bit more in 2022. But still, I think it looks almost comical, and I can laugh when I whip it out, and it's like, yeah. I hope I can laugh a bit more about that once it's finished. And then this was October, and then there was a Christmas stitch along, my very first stitch along that I ever attended, by Historical Sampler Company. Sorry, let me just quickly confirm that. Historical Sampler Company, right, from the UK. And I bought the kit from them with the fabric and floss and everything. And I started it, and for the first quarter of the stitch along, I was quite good, but somehow I fell out of love with it. One, because I had to finish the presents that I wanted to have done by November and December. And also, I made a lot of mistakes when I stitched on this because I didn't grid it. And so I kind of fell out of love with it, and it's not really finished. But it's a beautiful pattern and it's really cool. That's how it looks like. You can buy it online, I guess, still. I really liked it. 24 pieces, 24 little pieces. And I saw someone on the Facebook group. We had a dedicated Facebook group for this stitch along. Sorry. And she mounted the fabric on, I don't know how she did it, but she mounted the whole fabric on a piece of cardboard or something, and then had and glued it on a piece of cardboard. And then she carefully traced with an X-Acto knife, traced around the doors, let's say, around the tiny boxes here, so that they can be opened up as an advent calendar. And I thought this idea was so cool and so creative. So it was genius. And now I'm thinking, I want to have kind of tiny ornaments to go on my Christmas tree next year, because we don't have a huge Christmas tree that you can hang these big ornaments on, but you only have a small one. And maybe I can kind of repurpose this and kind of stitch the individual things a bit further apart so that I can cut them apart and finish them as tiny ornaments. Maybe this is something that I will do for next year. I don't know. But I really like this one, and not just like this one because it was a cool thing to have the Facebook group and the excitement of the cell and what will come out next and what will the motifs be that we will be stitching. But also I went shopping and got a lot of nice fabric to make project bags and matching pouches for the projects, you know, like themed project bags and little pouches so that I can store the bobbins in and the floss in. And I loved this very project bag so much because of the, you know, golden hearts and gold glittery zipper and everything. Yeah, I love this. I love this quite a lot. But still, I don't really know how I'm gonna finish it, and maybe I'm gonna do something else with it. Okay, so we are in December, and as I already told you with the captains, I started a new whip every Advent Sunday, and the first one that I started, the captains, I have already finished. And then I started on the second Advent, I started this one, also by PRINTandDECOR. I really like this shop. You have to check it out on Etsy. I really like this. They have a lot of very, very cool patterns. But unfortunately, again, when I looked, this particular crest is no longer available on their website. Maybe they also had kind of licensing issues or whatever. I don't know. But I want to stitch the Hogwarts crest. But I also didn't realize how huge it was going to be, because this is finished, like it looks like it's finished in a hoop. But when I gridded it on 16 count ATA, like this is huge. This is an 8-inch by 11-inch Q-snap that I put together, and this is going to be huge. This is only the very most top part here. So it's going to be kind of big. Yeah, I'm still going to stitch it. I'm still loving it. It's going to be very, very cool. It's going to be a huge piece. And I came quite far on it. And I like the coverage of the 310 on the 16 count ATA. Also have my little Hufflepuff needle minder there. Yeah, that's how far I am with the Hogwarts crest. Third Advent Sunday start. I'm kind of embarrassed about that. Maybe I just show you the bag. I mean, the bag is really, really cool. This is the back. This is the front. It's like a dark blue cool fabric and a nice silvery zipper, and I made a matching pouch for it. Yeah, okay, now I'm going to show you. Well, it's going to be this one. I made a wonderful video. I made a video about the plans that I have with a few of these visit city posters or landscape posters or whatever you want to call it. Please go to CountryMagicStitch on Etsy and have a look. They have so many cool, interesting nerdy visit posters. For example, also Isengard, and have a look. It's really, really cool on this Etsy seller. And I wanted to start this one on an 18 count ATA, Easy Grid ATA, and this is all I have so far, because I wanted to try out like half stitches, and I wanted to play around with the coverage, and wanted to try like doing 4 strands over 1, and I have to think about this again and see how I like the background, because it's, you know, it's a lot of single color, and yeah, I might have to think about that again, how I will go on with it in half stitch, 10 stitch, whatever. I'm not too proud of myself for that, actually. I really wanted to be further along with this one, because it's just one color, you know, it's going to be an easy stitch, but I have to play around with the fabric and the floss to know how I'm going to do that. And the final advent start, this fabric is this was an old tablecloth that I found in my mom's closet that we never put out. I have never seen this tablecloth on any table in our home, because it absolutely doesn't match anything that we have in our home. And so I felt okay with cutting it apart and making a project bag out of it, because I love lighthouses. Anyway, so in this project bag we have the 4th advent start, which is gonna be this one, the ATAT walkers. It's called, let me see, it's called again by PRINTandDECOR on Etsy. It's called something with stars, a robot, something. So it doesn't say Star Wars, of course, because of licensing, I suppose. But it's definitely a cool ATAT walker. And I thought that I had all of the floss that I needed for this. I thought that I had already bought it somewhere, but when I was kitting this up, I couldn't find everything, and so I was kind of left with just gridding the fabric, which is also progress. Friends of mine said that even gridding the fabric is working on it. So this is my start. Okay, yeah, so first time gridding with some simple sewing thread. See how it's gonna be. Yeah, this is also not really the proudest moment of my life, but yeah, this is a definite start. It is. But 2 legitimate starts to close this one out are I am growing up now. I am growing out of ATAT. No, I'm not growing out of ATAT. Well, I'll still be stitching on ATAT, and especially those nerdy tiny little things I'm going to be stitching on ATAT still. But I finally went or got into linen and even weave stitching, and I bought myself an early Christmas present, which was the Lowry stand. And I am loving it. And it was really, I had these linen and even weave lying around, and I wanted to start like Black Sampler November and all of that. But I didn't know how to start, because I didn't dare to start, maybe. I don't know why. But I put the linen in the Q-snap, and then I put it into the Lowry stand, and put my headphones in, some soothing music, and then I started on this wonderful piece that I wanted to stitch like for ages. My first sampler, Faith, Hope, and Love, which is kind of a maritime thing, and I love this saying. I love everything that has to do with faith, love, and hope. This is the very kind of typical thing for Hamburg too. And so I made a start on this one, and it was so easy, and I was like, I love it. I love stitching on linen. Why did no one tell me how wonderful stitching on linen is? This is good. I never want to do anything else again. This is so cool. Yeah. Legitimate start. I loved it. I'm very much looking forward to, actually, you know, it's always the same. You start with something and you think, well, I'm just gonna have a go. If it doesn't work out, it's okay. It doesn't, you know, it's not too bad. If it doesn't work out, I'm just throwing it away. It's a learning curve, whatever. And then you start without any kind of pressure behind it. You just start out, and suddenly it's cool. The stitching is perfect. the back is perfect, everything is cool and perfect with this one, and you weren't even trying hard, you know, you just had to go with it. And I hate that sometimes about myself, because like making videos, or I don't know, making projects for school or whatever, every time I was like, oh well, I don't really care about it. I just started something and it was fine, and it was cool, and it was good. But every time I was like, okay, I'm gonna think about it very hard, and I'm gonna plan it all out, and I'm gonna, you know, like really put a lot of effort in it. And then it was shit. I don't know why this is with me. Maybe I just need to go through life thinking, oh, well, it doesn't really matter. Let's just la-di-da, let's just try it out, and maybe it'll work, maybe not, and then it'll all be good. I don't know if this is like a life hack. Anyway, I'm very much looking forward to working on this again, but I need to free a Q-snap for that, I think. Yeah, all the Q-snaps I have right now are already in use, so I need to free one up for this one. Okay, and then the last whip that I have right now is I downloaded the Silk app, the Silk Cross Stitch app, because I am an Apple user and I don't have an Android tablet or whatever, so I don't have Pattern Keeper. But I know that in January, usually like the tech companies will lower their prices for tablets and stuff. And then I'm gonna have a shot at buying a cheap Android tablet to have Pattern Keeper, because I want to start some hate and huge projects in somewhere next year. And so I need to have Pattern Keeper for that. But anyway, to try it out, I downloaded the Silk Cross Stitch app, and Jacob, Modern Folk Embroidery, also has, I don't know if it's all, but most of his patterns on there. And I started, do I have a legitimate picture? Yes, I have. This one here. It's actually a bigger one, but I'm not really too fond of these letters, so I just want to stitch this part. And again, I was just trying it out. I was just seeing like, okay, well, I'm gonna try and practice on this Lugana even weave 32 count Zweigart. Now that's an interesting Zweigart, the 32 count Lugana vintage marble. And again, that was the fabric that I bought to start the Modern Folk Embroidery sale on. And so I was like, well, let's just start and try it out, see how it feels and if you like it and stuff. And I started with this fracture of a fracture of love. That's what it's called. I love it. Again, I love it. It's 2/2. The thread is called Onyx by Weeks Dye Works. No, wrong. It's Weeks Dye Works, but it's called Deep Sea. Again, sorry, Deep Sea. And yeah, I thought that it's kind of a grayish blue, and the vintage marble is also kind of grayish, not grayish. And I think it looks quite good. And again, I couldn't put it down. I was just stitching and stitching and stitching, and it was so easy, and I didn't grid, and it was working out. And I was like, okay, am I growing up now? Am I really kind of, you know, have I gotten better at this? And this is going to be something really cool, not just nerdy and snarky and I don't want to say childish, because it's not childish. I legitimately love all the things that I have done before, like the nerdy stuff. But this one feels more grown up. And yeah, so I was just, this was a practice piece for me to see if I would be able to keep up with the Modern Folk Embroidery sale for next year. And I think I can, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm still not set on the fabric, because I first want to have a look at the first clue or the first piece of pattern that he provides us with the day after tomorrow. And then I will decide if I have to buy a new piece of fabric, like something that matches the theme a bit more, because he said it's going to be kind of Dutch theme. Maybe it's going to be like a maritime theme or whatever. But still, yeah, I really, really like this one. It's going to be really nice. Yes, I like this. I love this. Okay, so these were my whips and finishes for this year, for the first 5 months of stitching for me. 5, 4, what did I say? And it's quite a lot, but I am not too overwhelmed. I am trying to set up my whip go board to see if I would be able to work on the things that I don't really like that much and that needs to get more love, if it works for me, because I sometimes, if I have these kind of challenges and, you know, it comes up and says, like a number comes up or whatever, or okay, this month or this week you're gonna do this and that challenge, and I was like, no. I'm kind of weird that way. I'm not really that kind of Stitching Moon said that she wants to use her stitching as a kind of a motivation to change her habits, and, you know, like have the stitching as to be a reward for after she did something. And like she wants to change a few of her behaviors and eating better and stuff. And I was like, I'm really, really tipping my hat to those people who can do that, because I'm not really good at kind of not cheating myself, but kind of persuading myself in that way, because I'm way too much of I enjoy myself too much person. I should not be doing this. Well, anyway. So these were my whips and my finishes for this year, and I am quite pleased with it, because for like 4 or 5 months, what did I say? It's quite a lot. And I'm still loving it, and I'm still enjoying it, and I'm so much looking forward to 2022. I of course will be doing the Modern Folk embroidery sale, which is going to be my second sale. I'm really, really excited for that. I want to start an Leonid Afromov picture painting charted by Artisy. Because the very painting that I wanted to stitch, the very Afromov painting that I wanted to stitch, was not charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. It was only charted by Artisy, so I purchased them from there. And see, for the Modern Folk embroidery and for the Afromov one, I definitely need Pattern Keeper, because it's going to be a lot of confetti for the Afromov one. And what else? Yeah, I want to see if I can set up my whip go to kind of work on the rose tapestry, the huge one, and to finish the other ones. And there are going to be a few more nerdy stitches, smaller stitches thrown in for good measure along the way. And I'm very, very much looking forward to 2022, because this is going to be my first full year, and I'm going to see if there are seasonal things that I would like to stitch, like for Easter or summery stuff. Oh, I have to tell you about a certain designer that I only just found. It's an Italian one, and she's called Cuore e Baticchiore. I'm going to link it down below, and she has the most beautiful, sweet and gorgeously charted samplers, like with tiny little cakes on cake stands, and like, I don't know, have a look at it. I'm gonna link it below. Please, you have to have a look at them. There are so many cute tiny little things, and I got 2 small finishing hoops from Esther in my Christmas package, and I want to stitch something for that too, like for the tiny ones. And what else am I going to do? Oh yes, of course, I'm gonna be working on my Christmas present as well. Farben des Feuers bei Werkstatt für historische Stickmuster. Again, I'm very much looking forward to doing that too. So yeah, these were that's all, folks. Thank you again very, very much for the time that you spent with me. I really cannot really grasp the idea of that there are like more than 200 people out there sitting there watching my videos and interacting with me, and that there are people on the other side of the world who are communicating with me and checking in, and that we can celebrate this hobby together, and that there is a place I'm in 2 wonderful Discord groups, and on Instagram, of course, I'm in touch with a few of you, and it's really kind of a vacation for me every time I go on the internet and interact with you, because this is like a drama-free zone, kind of, you know. I don't have to think about COVID, I don't have to think about politics, whatever. I just can enjoy this wonderful hobby with you all, and that really made my year, that really turned around my year this year, and I'm very, very thankful for that. Okay, now before I start to cry, I'm not. Let me say all the best wishes, my best hugs and kisses. No, that's not mine, that's from this guy who does the drag show reviews. All the best for 2022. Celebrate safely tomorrow, wherever you are. And I hope to see you soon next year, maybe in person, if you like to join us in our German stitching retreat next year. Thank you very much. Have a lovely evening and all the best to you. Bye bye.